The rumors of a new Xbox were in fact true. Project Scorpio was announced, and this was a big bombshell dropped at E3. This was huge fucking news. Whenever Phil Spencer came out on stage and had talked about the Xbox One S, then began discussing Project Scorpio, this had blown a lot of people's minds just because of the specs alone. Talking about the 8-core CPU and then the 6 teraflop GPU, that shit was kind of mind-blowing because that's what's going to be under the hood of a console. Keep in mind that most high-end gaming rigs right now aren't even rocking something that fucking good. And for a price point like that, that's the thing that has me most concerned about it. They said that they want to go and do this because they talked to a lot of folks who were interested in doing VR. And the current Xbox One model is not capable of handling it the way the developers want to. So they want to go and make this. This is going to be their future-proof system. And Phil Spencer had talked about in an interview that the company is no longer looking at things as generations. That they're just trying to make sure that each iteration of hardware will be able to carry over all the games and all the accessories from past generations going forward so that everything works together in one big cohesive Xbox universe, I guess. And I started likening this to the mobile phone market. Because if you think about it, both mindsets are fairly similar. As a matter of fact, you could probably compare this also to the PC market. In a lot of ways, this is starting to feel like their attempt at a Steam machine. To an extent. If you think about them also incorporating a lot of shit with Windows 10 and the Xbox brand together and just gelling them into one big thing, this is all starting to make sense. Now, whether or not anybody's going to enjoy some shit like this, because the console market has been a certain way for a very, very, very long time. And change like this freaks people the fuck out. The one thing that they did right was to make sure that the games on Xbox One can still play on this, and vice versa. So there isn't going to be exclusive games just coming out for the Scorpio that will not work on the regular Xbox One. That was the one thing that I had talked about in past videos, that if they decided that they were going to do some shit like that, that they would be pushing fans away. And keep in mind, they're sitting at what, like 25 million Xbox Ones that are sold right now? There is going to be a shit ton of people out there that are going to feel burned by this. You know, the system doesn't come out until at some point next year, but I feel like no matter what, there's going to be jaded gamers out there that are going to feel like, wow, I just fucking bought this and you announced that. I feel like a fucking fool. And then for the folks out there that just bought it and then the Xbox One S was announced. But if you keep your ears to the ground and you're hearing about all these rumblings, you kind of knew what was happening and it was imminent. You know, I had seen that there were so many fucking sales for the regular Xbox One bundles that are out there. It was just like, yeah, they're totally going to be launching some shit soon. I personally thought Sony was going to be the one unveiling it because we've heard lots more talk about the PlayStation 4 Neo than we have about the Scorpio. But both rumors had come up, you know, between those two and the NX. I mean, like, it's been fucking insane. Like, goddamn, the amount of things that popped up, and then you have to gauge whether or not, I wonder if this is true or if it's full of malarkey. But the Scorpio, seeing the specs that they have for it, my biggest concern right now is price. Think about this. Okay. Phil Spencer said in an interview that he was comparing the Xbox One Scorpio, Project Scorpio, whatever the fuck you want to call it, to, at least graphically, to a GTX 980. So I'm running a GTX 980 Ti in that rig right there. Now, they have the current model that they have out right now, you know, they got past the Titan, which I didn't think was all that big of a deal, but they have the GTX 1080 out. Now, considering the CPU, considering all the other shit that they have out there, you know, and they're saying that, oh yeah, it's got 6 teraflops and blah blah blah. Like, how much more powerful or on par is this to the PCs out there? And, you know, I would love to see a comparison chart so I could have everything broken down. And how are you going to be able to get this out at a low introductory price point that isn't going to scare people away? lots of folks out there love having the newest and greatest hardware when it comes to electronics, but there's a lot of people that also do not want to pay through the fucking nose. And if you want mass market appeal, you cannot be coming out at a price point of like $800, $1,000. Like, I don't know how they're going to even get it at $600. And that is still fucking insanely high. You know, they could boast that it can do this and it can do that and this thing's amazing, but it is hard to fucking tell somebody in an economy like we have right now, where most motherfuckers are, you know, they're trying to scrape change together to pay bills, to go and pay loans, to make sure that they've got food on the table, and then be like, yeah, well, this system's like 1,000 fucking bones. But I mean, you obviously want this X bone, But that's the concern that I have overall. I like the fact that this has got the horsepower behind it to be able to handle 4K gaming, because I have a 4K television. You know, my PC is hooked up to my television, and I do run games in 4K. I've ran Batman Arkham Knight in 4K after all the patches. If not, it'd be 4K resolution of nothing but glitches and crashes, so, you know. And then Fallout 4, I've also had running in 4K. Looks fucking awesome. Love the shit out of it, but my PC was pretty fucking expensive for me to build. I've been building PCs since I was 16, and it's one of those things that I've always loved to do, but how are you going to get this out and have it cheaper than that? I don't know how this is going to be possible. Unless they sold their soul to the devil, which it's Microsoft. I'm assuming that they've probably like went back and forth on like exchanging favors and deals and shit. Makes a lot of sense, you know, but think about this. If this comes out and is extremely expensive, do you think it's going to do all that well? Granted, it's an optional system. Let's get that out of the way first and foremost. In no way is this system coming out and just outright replacing the Xbox One, Xbox One S. This isn't replacing them, which is a good thing, but when you go to buy a system, do you want to get the shit version or do you want to get the good version? And that's where divide ends up showing up. And while there's a lot of excitement because developers will be able to do a lot more with this hardware, and that means that a lot of things will be able to look better on there. For example, Xbox One games, they had brought up Halo. There were several other games that were brought up that if you see them running on Xbox One and then running on the Scorpio, they look nicer on the Scorpio. And that's because it's able to output so much more fucking horsepower to go and make these games look the way that they originally are supposed to be intended to look. So there's no compromises at all in this. And again, it's tantalizing, it's exciting, it's something, it's just like you want to go and get it, but how much? That's the thing that I'm most concerned about. I know that a lot of times companies like Sony and Microsoft will go and release their consoles, and they'll put them out there, and they take a loss on them for the first like year or two. In most cases, this current generation didn't seem to be much of the case, but they will put those systems out there, and they'll take a loss on it and make up for it in volume over time, and especially through software sales. So if somebody buys the system, then, you know, they buy like 3 games with it, they're making up with that shit over the course of time. Then people paying for games for gold and shit, and then paying for like PlayStation Plus and shit, it's more money in their pocket so they can go and make up for that shit. And then when the hardware is cheap enough for them to go and profit off of day one with each individual sale, then, you know, they're off in the fucking clear. But if they have to go and do it with this system, how much of a cut do they have to take as a loss so that they can go and get these out on the store shelves without scaring people away? I mean, what is a comfortable price point knowing what the hardware is right now? You know, and I know that there's like a big major focus right now, and especially all throughout E3, on VR gaming. You know, with the HTC Vive, with the Oculus Rift, with the PlayStation VR, Microsoft has the HoloLens coming out, and they don't actually have their own technical VR headset coming out. And the HoloLens is pretty far out before it's ever going to end up hitting store shelves for like mass consumership to go and pick up and play and run around and do all the other fucking crap. So they're going to be looking to third-party do this. So that's the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive. Now, the Vive to me would make the most sense because, you know, it's got the best specs out of the three. But the Vive is also the most expensive. So when I start thinking about this even more, I'm just like, and keep in mind that that's like Steam and Microsoft and shit like that. There's lots of competition to go and think about. And I'm just like, God damn, man, it's overwhelming. Truth be told, it's overwhelming when you think about it. And a lot of this is, we gotta just sit on our hands and wait to see what the hell happens. They were very specific to not announce an actual date and an actual price point. And that's because I don't think they even know yet. You know, it is kind of nice that we will be able to see all of our current games on there. I am kind of curious though, since they're doing backwards compatibility with Xbox 360 games, will those Xbox 360 games still be backwards compatible with the Xbox One Scorpio, Project Scorpio? If that's the case, that's an even bigger selling point for a lot of people. And I'm all for backwards compatibility. I fucking hate, I cannot stress this enough, hate the idea that the PlayStation 4 I play the shit out of, but I hate the fact that it doesn't play PlayStation 1, 2, or 3. And I don't give a fuck about their streaming service for games at all. That can suck a big basket of moldy ass limp dicks. Fuck that. I want to be able to just pop my disc in. And that's it. If I owned a disc, that's what I want to be able to do. And if I bought games digitally through PSN, I wish that they'd fucking work on there. But that shit's not compatible, different hardware and all this other fucking crap. But it's just frustrating and it's annoying because I like backwards compatibility. And if Microsoft is touting that as a major feature, that's at least another thing that they can use as a bragging right. But like, hey, it's not so bad because look at it like this. This is like 2 generations of gaming right there. So, not too bad. If they even bust out the original Xbox games, somehow magically, I'm like, oh yeah, you can go and play like Otogi or Otaji. I don't know how most people go and pronounce that shit. And you can go and play Crazy Taxi 3, and you can play that shit on there, and it'll be fucking great. You know, you want to play Panzer Dragoon Orta? You sure as shit can go and do that. I'd be like, alright, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. Like Phantom Dust will be played up. Yeah. No, all those thumbs up. But price. And how is Sony spawned? You know, they were very mum on the entire thing. I mean, they had a big time focus on VR. It was like, alright, and they apparently had hands-on impressions for a lot of people with the PlayStation VR and shit. And out of the VR headsets that are out, it's got the lowest specs out of the bunch, and I'm assuming that was one of the compromises that they had to make so that it could go and work on the PlayStation 4. And one of the things that Phil Spencer had kind of hinted at was that VR gaming just isn't ready for the current systems that are out right now. PlayStation apparently found a way around that, but at a cost. You know, granted, it is cheaper than the competition, but Microsoft, I mean, eventually they'll have the HoloLens. Will they have a big focus with that? Will that be a big-ass thing? Will we have more iterations of shit like that? Is Sony going to end up announcing the Neo at the next E3? Is that going to be a thing? It's just so many fucking questions. You know, are we going to see multiple different systems coming out? Like, is this the last era of console generations? And is it going to be, you know, just from this point forward, is it going to just be like the newest hardware? You know, like got a Samsung Galaxy Note 4 in my pocket. Well, now they got the Note 5, Note 6, and Note 7 and all that shit. So is it going to be like the mobile gaming market? Is it going to be like the PC market where they slightly upgrade? Are they ever going to allow you to open these bitches up and upgrade them yourself with parts that they go and make available? There's so many different things that I think about which way it could go, and at that point, why isn't everybody just PC gaming? Because it's starting to become just a reflection of PC gaming, so just go and buy a PC because it does 10 times fucking more. God damn, there is so much to think about. But Scorpio is big news. A lot of it, we just gotta wait and see what the hell happens with it. But are you excited about this? Do you want to go and get games for this because you're excited about the idea of 4K gaming and virtual reality and all that shit? And about the prospect of whatever games out there that will run a shit ton better or even marginally better that you have on your Xbox One that'll run better on there. Either way, opinions, thoughts, feelings, what the hell is the PlayStation 4 Neo going to be? What about the Nintendo NX, which apparently does not have specs that are even remotely comparable to the Project Scorpio, which is, 4.5 times stronger than Xbox One, is even up to snuff with the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 that's out right now. Only time will tell, and we'll have to see. Either way, this is AlphaOmegaSin, as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers game the fuck on!